Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Living the Sweet Life. I'm your host, TJ Sweet, and on this podcast, I'm going to be talking about different ways that can help you live with intention, reshape your mindset, and look at the world through a grateful lens. Before we get too far into this episode, I want to say thank you for choosing to spend some time with me today. As we talk about different topics every week, it means a lot to me that you actually dedicate time. It's the most precious resource we have. And so the support that you show me every week, the questions that you send me, the podcast topics that you suggest as well are inspiring to me, because the goal is really to pour into each of you in a meaningful way. While we're here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button now so that you don't miss any of these episodes. These episodes come out every Monday. We call them Mindset Monday, because really our goal is to start to win the week by winning Monday. So this week, we'll dive straight into this episode that I'm super passionate about. It's actually the reason why I'm here. It's the reason why this podcast exists. This episode is all about finding your purpose. There's a lot of people that talk about purpose and, we start to kind of question, have I found my purpose? I have a job, I have a family, but do I really know what my purpose is? And so sometimes you hear other people talk about what their purpose is or what their passion is. And then there's that sense of you don't use those words, you don't talk about it. So are you missing your purpose? Have you found your purpose? And sometimes our purpose is right in front of us. We just have to be aware of what it feels like to be living in your purpose on purpose. So I'll kind of walk you through a little bit today, a couple different things. But first I want to talk about kind of what it really looks like. But then what are some actual things that you can be doing to maybe identify, recognize, or maybe find your purpose? And you may recognize that your purpose actually found you. So the first thing is a lot of self-reflection. And again, the difference between purpose and passion. When you find what you're passionate about, it's for you. When you find your purpose, it's recognizing your passion and how do you then make a difference in the lives of other people. And that is your purpose, is how you use your passion and your gifts for other people. So the first thing to really kind of recognize is when you're living in purpose, in your purpose, it's actually a heightened state. Some people call it a flow, but it really is just kind of that state that you're not having to fight yourself. Your thoughts are free. You're not judging yourself. You're actually just feeling a sense of joy. So the first thing to really do is stop and think about what makes you happy, what brings you joy. What is something that you would do no matter what? And who are you surrounded by, right? And this is important to think about is whenever you start to recognize, this was a big thing for me is when I was on stage and I was having the opportunity to talk to people and pour into people, that's when I knew that I was at my best. And so I recognized that maybe that is my purpose, is to be in front of people and share a message. But it also brought me the most joy when I was doing those things. And so stop and think about what makes you happy, what brings you joy. Happiness it can be found in a moment, but joy is something deeper. It's a deeper sense of fulfillment. And it really kind of helps us recognize that there are more opportunities in our life than obligations. So recognize those things that you feel like are opportunities that you're excited about, that maybe on this Monday, you're looking forward to on Friday. That sense of optimism and hope of what's to come, that is purpose. That's living in your purpose. There's something bigger, something different about the way you think about that thing. And so what brings you happiness, what brings you joy is a great place to start. But then also stop and think about, if I were to ask you what brings you joy, also think about who brings you joy. Earlier in the year, we talked about how who you're grateful for can lead you to your purpose. And that purpose then leads you to wanting to give effort. And then that effort leads to significance. But that important piece of purpose, when we add meaning to the things that we're doing, to the conversations we're having, to the books we're reading, to the food that we're eating, we often get stuck on this idea of cruise control. And we seek certainty, which is fine. But you'll find certainty through gratitude. The things you're grateful for, the people you're grateful for, the things that you get to do that you're grateful for will bring you that certainty. Once you have that certainty in your life that you can predict, you'll then start to recognize more of your path of purpose, because you'll start to believe in yourself more, take more chances, because you're working out of a state of abundance mindset instead of a scarcity mindset. So there's a lot of times this pursuit of purpose or finding purpose, just the thought of that alone puts this thought into your mind that you don't have it. Because when we're trying to find something, we don't try to find something we already have. And so my urge to you, while you think about what brings you happiness and joy, and then also who are you surrounded by, stop using the words you're trying to find your purpose. Talk about you're trying to rediscover, you're trying to recognize your purpose because it's already in you. You just have to move some things out of the way so that it can come out of you. So as you think about who you are around, think about those people that bring out the most joy in you in those conversations, and what are you talking about? And typically those people that are going to kind of be your core people in your life, they're probably going to have similar values. And so stop and think about, what are your core values? What are the things that you know for sure about what you believe in, what you want to stand for, right? Because a simple quote of, if we don't know what we're going to stand for, then we're going to fall for everything. And sometimes that sense of purpose can come from recognizing what we do believe in by sometimes seeing what we don't. And so, a purpose could be something that, if, there's a lot of people that try to do good in the world and try to, even if they're going to go clean a beach, right? They recognize the purpose is, how do we make the earth just a little bit cleaner for the future generations? And so they go do something like that is purpose driven. And so your purpose can move, right? It's a journey. It's not this one thing that you decide on one day and then it's that forever. And so oftentimes when people talk about their purpose, they talk about their job. But I will tell you, your job is what you do, but the purpose is rooted in why you do it. Because that's when we find the most fulfillment. That's when we recognize that we have more things in our lives that we get to do instead of things that we have to do. So kind of shift your energy from, this idea of day-to-day job being your purpose. I go to work, I come home, I cook dinner, I cut the grass, or I take care of the kids and I go to bed. That's my purpose. That's kind of what you're doing. But why? What is that one thing that ties emotion to what you're doing? And as you kind of recognize that your path is a little different than everybody else's, it's important to understand that we are unique. And so your purpose, kind of think back to your childhood, think back to when you were younger, or the circle of friends that you have. What is the unique attribute about yourself? And sometimes that will help you focus on what is a gift that you can offer to the world through your purpose. And so there's this right brain and left brain thinking, right? There's a lot of talk about men and women and the way they think as well. But really the right brain is focused more on those creative intuition, creative or intuitive type of decision-making and choices and behaviors and thoughts. But then there's also that left brain, which is a little bit more analytical and logical. Now, once you recognize which part of your brain you generally use the most, that's a good start to, again, the idea of purpose is something you're pulled to do, not something you're being pushed to do, not something you're being forced to do. So kind of recognize those things. And do you prefer to be creative or analytical, or, is there something in your decision making? Are you just off the cuff decision making, or do you stop and analyze everything? I've recognized that about myself is I'm quick to make a decision, but it's only when I have the right information. Now I'm willing to go learn and go get that information, but I don't feel comfortable making decisions or changes in my life if I haven't thought it through. But I don't get paralyzed by that analysis, which is something I have to be aware of as well. And so, again, recognizing that if you're more creative and you feel at your best and you feel like you're thinking at your best when you're in a creative, more kind of responding to life and intuitive headspace, then maybe that's a good way for you to recognize your own purpose. But then also understanding, the important piece of being present in the moment will help you recognize more about what are you actually doing on a day-to-day basis, and when do you have emotions tied to what you're doing. Now, that's really the most important thing I want to mention here is when you tie emotions to what you're doing in alignment with the thoughts that you're having, you will give more effort, your brain learns faster, and you'll retain it more, and you'll have more desire to learn and grow and become more. So, and that's really the gap between being on cruise control and being in your purpose is your emotional state of understanding connectedness. Because once you care about it, all of a sudden there's really no burden. There's no counting the cost anymore. And so for me, my purpose is to love and appreciate the people that I have in my life in a whole new way. And I never count the costs. I will drive wherever I need to drive. I will go do whatever I need to do because I get to. But I have emotion tied to being in those people's lives. The people that I'm the most grateful for, I think about them every day. I wake up with the thought of how can I show up for them every day? And that directly relates to the behaviors and habits that I choose next. And so again, tie emotion. When do you feel like you're excited about doing something? What are you doing? Who are you with? Like I've already mentioned, but understanding that the highest sense of performance and effort that you will ever have in your life is not just when you're good at something, but when you care about how good you are at that thing. Now, understanding too, there are different activities that you can be doing that you could be at a certain state of flow or at peace. And so, for me, getting to do these podcasts or getting to be on stage is what I've recognized is when I'm the most calm. It's my lowest heart rate. I look forward to it. I love that opportunity to share a message for you all. Now, I don't get to see all of you every day, whether you're watching on YouTube or you're listening on any podcast hosting platform. Just know that the reason why I get so calm about this and the reason why I get so excited about it and I dive deeper into these things is I have emotion tied to being at my best for you all. To hopefully one of you will hear something that'll make a difference in your life or in the lives of the people you're the most grateful for. So kind of recognize that state of peace when you don't feel anxious, you're not judging yourself, but maybe you just feel wholesome, right? Because whenever we're in a wholesome, peaceful state, our body starts to respond to that and release oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine. So it's actually a chemical level that helps us recognize when we feel the most purpose. Again, if something for you, if you recognize that maybe mentoring people or coaching people or serving people really gives you a lot of energy and you're willing to work long days and read and learn and go to school to get a different degree or watch a webinar, like that's a great indicator of what your purpose is. For me, I knew that coaching and speaking and leading people, but people were the thing, that was the one constant thing for me that I knew that I was passionate about. And ultimately I figured out I just need to find different ways to do that. And so that's where the podcast came from, the book came from, the coaching, that's where speaking, all of it comes from, is this idea of living a life of contribution because of how much I've been given. So shifting the mindset from accumulation to contribution frees you up to give even more because you actually get while you give when you're living in your purpose. But I'll be transparent too. This was not an easy path for me. And so I want to urge you to be patient with yourself while you find your journey. Some people find it young. Some people think they find it when they're young, but this is actually a process of becoming. And I didn't figure mine out right away. I had some natural kind of inclinations and desires to do certain things like this. I'd always been kind of seen as a leader and I talk a lot. And so recognizing that, I was outgoing and, even as a little kid, I was running around the neighborhood talking to every single neighbor when I was 3 or 4 years old before I knew anybody. I just felt comfortable. But there's a lot of other things I had in my life that made me feel comfortable to do those things. But understanding that we don't necessarily connect all the dots until we're at a new place. And so if you can kind of give yourself some grace and recognizing that maybe your path of finding your purpose is different than everybody else's, but maybe that's everything you needed your path to be so that you could find your real authentic purpose, not the job that you have, but the impact you want to have on people in the world. And one of the things that I love to do with my clients is I actually kind of help them reframe and rethink what they do. And just that simple little shift may actually be the thing that points you to what your purpose actually is. And so even if a simple example of this is at a cash register at the grocery store, I always find those opportunities because those people are there to serve, right? Everybody has a role, everybody has a job, and they're there to serve. And so I actually talk to them and thank them for making the choice to be there that day. Today it's a sunny day, and I just did this a couple hours ago where I thanked somebody. I said, thank you for being here, even though, it's a Friday and you could have been out doing something else. And they're like, yep, it's my job. And I said, well, let me tell you, your job is helping put food on the plates for families and actually, creating opportunities for people to create memories surrounding the table, eating the food that they're buying today. And I kid you not, I said it better then, but the look on this person's face, and it was probably a 50-year-old woman. She looked at me like she'd never even thought of it that way. But her whole energy shifted about being at work today. And so just understanding that just a simple reframe about what you're doing, but the impact of why you're doing it, sometimes maybe that's the one thing that can point you to your purpose. So, as you kind of go on your path, don't be afraid to try new activities. And maybe that's you never know when one activity could actually be the thing that helps you, recognize when you have a higher state of energy and thoughts and obviously who you're with, try to do different things. And, sometimes it's we seek certainty in the things that we're comfortable with, but maybe the thing that we're going to be the most comfortable with is doing something new and something of purpose. But we have to have that sense of certainty as well. So, as you are now probably thinking, okay, yeah, I get it, right? I get what state of purpose is and all of that. I'll just kind of run through just a couple quick ways that I've used in my own life, and truthfully, I still use on a routine basis to make sure that I'm living in my purpose, not just because I found it like it was something I was missing and put it in my pocket, but it's something that's the air that I breathe. It's everything that I do. And so, like I said, after you kind of start to recognize some of this energy shift, one of the most important things you can do is reflect and journal. So a lot of times we're in a go mode all the time and we trust our brains to remember, but we don't. And so really reflect and journal on like, when were you the happiest? And again, the nature of my book is 3 things you're grateful for, 2 things you appreciate about yourself, and an I am statement. And that's really a great reflection moment, but really understanding, when are you the most happiest? Who are you with? And what are you doing? Just write those things down on a routine basis. Don't judge it. Don't change it. Just write it down and actually give yourself time to do that. And then the second thing that I've had to do, again, I'll talk a little bit more about this in a later episode, but I seek feedback. So I talk to the people that I trust and people that I get to work with and people that I get to know and really say, like, how would you describe me? And when do I add the most value to your life? Or what are some natural skills you think that they think that you have? Because we're often our kind of own worst critic. And so sometimes our own self-limiting beliefs or imposter syndrome can prevent us from seeing everything that we actually are. But if you find some people, seek that feedback and ask them, what are ways that you add value? And then also, what are some gifts that you have? What's your unique attribute that will make you stand out, whether it's with your friend group or your work group or just mentors that you have? And then, I think really the last thing that I really want to talk the most about is paying attention to when you feel at your best. Obviously there's so much energy around getting through the day, but that kind of clumps all the days together and we kind of lose the meaning behind the day. And so really, when do you feel at your best? And, a great friend of mine talks about the peak and the pit of the day. And so really, like, what is the peak of your day? And like, start to pay attention, write these things down, but start to pay attention to what are the highest moments of your day, what made it that highest moment, and how can you potentially plan on having more of those moments? And so, pay attention to the fact that 1, you deserve to feel at your best. And 2, how can you do those things with more intention instead of just hoping those moments happen? So, as I kind of wrap up here, I just simply want to say that recognizing that your purpose is for you. Don't get caught up in my purpose or anybody else's purpose around you. If we all had the same purpose, we wouldn't complement each other very well. And you have a gift, no matter who you are, no matter where you're listening or how you're watching, you have a gift that the world needs. We just need you to show it, to share it. And sometimes it takes this kind of self-awareness and this reflection to do that. But once you start living in purpose by adding a emotion and energy and effort and gratitude to what you're doing, you'll start to live life a whole new way and then contribute to other people's lives in a totally different way that will make you excited to wake up. And that's for me. I hate going to sleep and I love waking up. And it's because I'm rooted in my purpose. And, I'm committed to finding new ways to live in my purpose, but also finding new ways to grow in my purpose. And so as I kind of wrap up here, finally, just thinking about giving yourself some grace along the way on your journey. Think about what makes you happiest. Think about who you're with. Reinforce some of those things with your core values. And then, kind of recognize, when do you feel at your best? When do you have the most energy? Because those kind of moments will help you lead to the purpose. But then don't be shy about when you find your purpose. Proclaim it, own it, and live in it, because you may inspire somebody else to do the same. So I want to thank you for taking time for this episode. Again, subscribe if you haven't yet, whether you're on watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify or iTunes. It's most of the listeners. That's where you're listening right now. But just know that I appreciate you taking time to do this. And some of the best ways that we can make an impact in other people's lives is by sharing things that we learn. So taking knowledge, making it wisdom by sharing it with other people. So you sharing these episodes like you do every week is inspiring to me. So, and obviously that's our goal, right? Is to try to make a difference in the world. And that's what we're doing. And so I'll wrap up this episode like I do with every other episode and just remind you that you always have the power and the choice to reshape your mindset, live with intention, and look at the world through a grateful lens. Until the next episode, never stop.